budget. Fiona's on budget.
Congratulations.
Fiona can order herself.
I'm on budget.
She's on budget, but she's on. Paul, I put you on to budget in place of David. Andrew, you were put on grievance committee in place of David. Everybody has one assignment, somewhere to sit, somewhere to be, and just some thought and feedback. This was just tired of doing it the same old way. We're not really getting anywhere, and we literally take an idea and shove it into a committee because it's the only committee we have.
Yeah, where would you go for this whole idea of, small learning communities? So where's that?
That would just be a work group. Somebody, whoever's in charge of that, like if that was going through school improvement, if you wanted to stay on that work group and John wanted to be on it and Carl wanted to be on it, that'd be your work group. You guys would work with whoever you had to work with. We would set a schedule. We have to post our meeting so many days in advance. Off we go. But it wouldn't necessarily be a standing committee that you may not need to meet for 3 months.
Yeah.
And then you're going to evaluate it 3 months from now.
Yeah,
So
no, I get it.
Instead of wasting everybody's time and making it more efficient, because we're all busy, we can't always make the set times.
Like with Vincent, we, with the wellness component, because we're working with people from the hospital, from Ed Connection, it's a large group. We started out with every 2 weeks we were meeting, and we're still moving at that pace. But we finished the first half of the policy, and but it was in order to develop the we'll see as many community members who part of this fit together for Torrington wanted to be on it, and so they've been giving their input. So it'll get designed with Vince in the lead, but then it will still come to the policy committee of the Board of Ed to say yay or nay, does it match up with what is expected to happen. So it's just been, can move a lot faster because you have one focus, not multiple agenda items.
And make the meeting more useful. That when you're having it, you're focused on a topic. Gary Brochu had said that they rename their subcommittees every year based on their board goals. At this point, instead of redoing the bylaws every year to change the names, we were just going to leave it as work groups, because then they're not really a subcommittee, they're a work group. And that work group would do the work and would bring it to the standing committees and then back to the full board. Just, it was less formality and paperwork and change.
Yeah, I'd be supportive of that idea, but I would like it more formally structured so that if a work committee, whatever, what do you call it, a work group?
Work group, whatever.
At the point that it's formed, or under that it becomes an agenda, the full board is aware of it.
Yes.
All board members are aware of it, and then there's given some structure to it at a full board level.
That would come, we would want the person that had the idea
Yeah.
to bring it to the full board.
Yeah.
If the board says, yes, that's a work group we want to focus on, then that person takes that and runs, but we would also give a finite time. We're not just going to say work on it for 4 years. It's going to be, we'd like to see some results.
Report back at some point.
And say to Vincent, we want to see wellness in February. Say to Dan, we want to see technology in March. Say to Andrew, we want to see online learning in May, so that we can structure our meetings to have a real comprehensive discussion about something and move on it. And have it vetted through everything else instead of us, getting an idea and talking about it and it goes back to subcommittee. And this way it's more thoroughly designed and run through and brought to us.
And it allows
We're more productive.
administration to, get the resources, whatever we need to bring to the work group to have other people vetted. Like right now with the wellness piece, we looked at the components of the policy and we broke it down. So Dr. Curry is working on one part, I'm working on another part. Our two of our principals were on it. Christine Walls from Ed Connection. So it's not, we talk about school, family, community partnerships.
Yep.
I think it'll allow even more for that, so that that's just not the board all the time working on something. If we know that there's other people from the community who are interested, they too can be on that work group.
Well,
She had it.
I guess I was looking at it more like when we're talking tonight about Torrington High School and some concerns we have. There may be 3 or 4 of us that share the same concerns that could go on that work group to look at the dropout rate or whatever it is and really focus in on it, pull in who we need to help us so that we're not, again, talking about the dropout rate next year, the following year, the following year, the following year, and putting a concrete plan in place for how we're going to address it.
But my concern, yeah, I agree with that, I think that's great. My concern would be, again, for doing this for a long time, is that if we make it imperative that whatever work group, you know, from the time the start gun goes off, they need to report back early to the full board early, for the following reason. In reality, you take people who are passionate about a given subject, they're gonna go running down this thing, and they're gonna put, ungodly amount of time, effort, and energy. They're gonna tie up the administrators on their pet project, and their time, and their resources. God forbid they should go down, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 weeks, 10 weeks down, and it comes to the full board, and the board says, geez, I'm just not into that idea.
We
You're
have
gonna
our
problems.
committee reports,
You're gonna have problems.
we have our committee report section in the meeting. Currently, it's in our
All right,
agenda.
and then maybe
So
that needs to be
instead of it
expanded
being
during-
personnel policy, school improvement budget, special, it would be wellness work group, it would be technology work group, it would be, and you would give us an update every month, like, this is what we've accomplished, this is where we're
But
headed.
those will need to be opened up as discussion items then.
Yeah, we can
If
move
this
those
whole
under
wellness
discussion.
idea comes,
Yes.
you're going way down the road. I don't know how many people on the board know what you're doing with this, or with the administration, with the, but, there's a possibility that you're gonna present this souffle, and people are gonna say, I really wasn't in the mood for souffle. They say, but Jesus, I put so much time into it, and there's gonna be hard feelings, and then there's gonna be, it's not gonna be as productive. So there needs, if that's the structure, then at the monthly meetings, that there is a discussion. Each of those work groups has a discussion, a status report.
You can have, say there's 10 work groups, and every other month, you do an update. So that we're not sitting through 10 long discussion items, you got 5 this month, 5 next month, 5 this month, 5, and then in the spring or whenever you have your final report, your presentation.
Okay, but you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I know exactly, yes, you don't want somebody spending 8 months on a topic and they come in here and they go, no.
No. Right.
You want to discuss it? No. Yeah, it kind of defeats 8 months worth of work, I've understood.
Would it be better for us to get together in a retreat type format and discuss what we want to do this year and form like 3 or 4 work groups based on what we want to accomplish this year?
Because then you could
I can
have
jump
a
in the
type
comments
start.
before the order.
Right. Yeah, you look at, here's the results, and you can design your plan backwards, and with your results, what strategies are you gonna use to get there?
Well, last month, I had asked everybody to try to get me their 5 goals for what they would like. We have to set our goals every year so we can
So I can set my-
evaluate the administration. We don't have our goals yet. I did get some from Vincent, I got some from Ellen. What I was trying to do was get everybody's input and then wait out, if 10 people pick wellness as a goal, well, then obviously that's a goal. If one person picks it and 10 people pick something else, well, then that's, but if I could just get 5 goals from everybody, then we'll set up a retreat sometime in October here so we can pick our board goals, then we can further define the work group structure.
Right.
Yes.
I also think that our bylaws need to be changed.
Absolutely.
To accommodate the
We would have
workers.
to, once we decide how we're gonna structure it, we would have to go into the bylaws. Absolutely.
I like this concept, but I like it more if I was more assured that we view this more as a fluid type of policy, like you said, policy, budget, they have to meet every month because there's certain things that need to be accomplished. But I like the concept, I don't know if that's what you're hoping for, but by a fluid concept, I'm thinking that as the school year goes on, starting July 1st of every academic year, as things obviously come about in July, August, September, now you have these like floating, we're just like a floating group of people who superintendent comes and says, you know, in July or August, this problem arose. We now see that 25 kids need some type of special attention or something. Now we, as a group, will hear them, and then we can immediately, with a little board input, that the general board is concerned about that as well. Then we can go into this concept. I like that.
Well, that could happen in January.
It
That
could
could happen in February.
Yeah, but
That
what I'm
would give
trying to
us
say is,
things to report all year long. I mean, the subcommittee groups, or the work groups will start and end, and start and end, and they'll just keep going.
well, the point that I'm trying to get to though is by not tying it to the board goals that we as a board, yeah, we come up with 5, we still want to do that, but I don't want this concept to be limited by those 5 board goals. Yeah, we're going to work as a board with 5 board goals. Like I say, something comes up, 10 kids are now out of displaced by the bus runs or something. So now we have, as a board, have to figure out what we're going to do with that. And now the superintendent will notify us.
Yeah, I think that was the intention.
Right, but a work group also includes not only board members, also the community, teachers, administrators, central office, community members,
Whomever you need to make the
to
topic
make
work.
that, whatever the issue is, to make that happen.
And some issues, I would agree with you, but some issues I wouldn't want to think that every time we as a little membership of 2 or 3 want to take on that, are going to now seek general input of
Well,
everyone
it
wants
depends
that.
on what the issue is.
Gravity,
What-
the extent.
Right.
And as your topic progresses,
Right.
you might need the business manager near the end of it to talk about some financial issues. At the beginning of it, you might need the assistant superintendent to talk about a curriculum issue. And so you would have Sue involved in maybe the first 1 or 2 meetings, and then Sue probably wouldn't see you again until it came to the board, because you'd move on to finances, you'd move on to policy, you'd move on. So you would get input from different people at different times. We're not saying you gotta sit down with 35 people and have a discussion every time you want to talk.
And I think for this to work well, it's very important that the superintendent be proactive in being efficient with the time in which she gets most of these issues will come directly from the superintendent. I mean, we don't go micromanaging things. The superintendent comes across different ideas. And one of the reasons why I was opposed to losing the 2 full board meetings a month was now you had 1 month where the entire board met. And it's a big time gap when you're only talking 9, 10 months of the year that you really have the academic year involved. And when you have just 1 meeting a month, it's hard for this board to really get much accomplished. So if this is done the way I would hope it would be done, it could really make a lot of things that take a long time procrastinate over time, because we meet so infrequently as an entire board, we may be able to get more accomplished in a quicker manner.
That's the hope.
Yeah, it'll be more fluid, but I mean, it's up to the superintendent to really,
A work group also could be dictated by a state mandate. Like you have to have something, so if you're passionate about that, then the work group will come together with as many players as need to be in it. And, but a work group is, it has a beginning and an end.
would this be able to be done, for example, say tomorrow, something arises, Cheryl sends out to everyone, this issue came about, and all the board members would now know this issue was to come about. Could, within a week, 5 of us decide, yeah, this is a topic that we're concerned about, we would want to put the time in to help deal with that issue. Could that unilaterally be done by the 5, as opposed to waiting until the October the October board meeting for you to find out the five of us are gonna.
She could send it out to everybody.
Right.
Everybody decide, it's a topic, it's a topic of concern, not a topic. If you have a consensus that it's a topic of concern, then, and 3 people say, yeah, I think it's important, but I really don't have the time. I've got March Madness going on, Paul's occupied, can't do it, thinks it's a good idea, but just doesn't have the time. It would give you the opportunity to say, yeah, I think this is something, but, I can't do it. And 3 others say, yes, I can do it, then off you go.
And then the 3 of us can, in a week, say, meet with Cheryl and Mention Avenue and get briefed on it, get some ideas run through, and then, this way we've accomplished something within the month before we would then meet at the next full board meeting, so that we're not if this concept is gonna be like, we're gonna have to wait every month to get these things going, it just takes forever. That's my only concern. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Another practical concern, these work groups, will they have the full force of a standing committee? If 2 or 3 board members get together and they want to meet, they want to get information that, say, the administration may or may not want to provide, if those board members say, we want to see this budget breakout on this expenditure, that has the force of, it does have the force of a committee.
It would be, instead of doing subcommittees, we're gonna be doing work groups. Same thing, if you
Well,
ask for a budget breakdown and you can't get it, you'd send and say, hey, Ken, I'm not getting what I need, I would go to Danielle and get that budget breakdown and get it right back.
But it wouldn't be like a committee where you need a quorum. It's a work group.
That's the big difference, is you don't need a quorum to keep working.
Yeah, well, again, my concern is evaluating the board, and again, this is a variation of it. It's not a standing committee, and therefore doesn't have the full power of it. It may not have the full power of a committee, certainly not by state statute it would. So this board would have to agree that if these 2 guys get together on something and they want to do this, and they ask for information, and that information is not forthcoming, that they have the authority to just say, we want it, get it, as you would in a subcommittee, if the subcommittee's, am I correct in that assumption?
The only thing I would be concerned about is if we have everybody going off on hundreds of work groups, and then the administration and the people in the buildings are spending their whole day getting information. So it would need to be, your work groups would need to be structured so that they weren't getting calls and emails every hour on the hour.
I think that's why we kind of talked about and figured if we have the goals, then structure the meetings around the goals. You'd only have 2 or 3 work groups, maybe 5, whatever.
I get all that, I just want to.
You just can't have 100 people, you can't have,
Right.
you can't have 100 work groups all demanding the same
No.
thing, we'd have to
Right.
add staff.
You want you working
handle
on
our
3
requests.
work groups, calling, and you working on 2, you working on 5, you working on 1, and it would be, that would not be productive.
Well, one of the things I think too, when you were saying about financial, you could say, what kind of money do we currently spending on doing a certain thing? That, the budget's there, and how the money's being spent. The other thing though is we'll also have to look at what are other resources that we can pursue, such as grant writing or whatever, to make it happen.
No, I'm just concerned again, from a lot of past experience with a lot of different superintendents. I've been on subcommittees that formally requested information from those administrators related to budget, very specific breakdowns of things, and it was not forthcoming. It was pulling teeth. And this was a formal committee making these requests, and it still wasn't forthcoming. And my concern is that if you get, us 2 going in on some workshop and blah, 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 that the administration cannot just say, well, it's not really a formal board request. We don't think you should no, we're not going to give that to you at this point.
I think within the work group, you'd have someone from the administration on that work.
But even if they said that, you could send a request to the chair saying, I've requested this information, and then it would become a formal request that they would have.
That's
I mean, if you
if
didn't
this
get-
board understands this relationship now as one where if, again, a non-standing committee requests of a chairman that they get this, that chairman then says, I don't agree with what you're doing, but I will make the request anyway, and then it has the authority. You
No,
agree
I
to that?
understand, I understand.
Paul, then do you think we need a policy then?
No, I'd rather stay away from policies. I'd rather stay away from policies that aren't necessary. If it becomes necessary, then yes.
Right, okay.
For example, I work under the direction of the superintendent, and she's aware of the fact that I may have a deadline for consolidated grant application or, a variety of other duties. So if the requests continue to be channeled to the board chair, to the superintendent, I'm sure that we all get our marching orders and we'll comply with requests for information accordingly.
Yeah, I certainly wasn't referring to this group of administrators, but there have been others. And it was one
Right, or
request after
also to
another,
protect for the
one
future.
stall after
Yeah.
another.
Right.
That went on for a long time.
We can't, you know what, Paul, we can't afford not to work, do what we have to do to move this district forward.
Well, but again,
No,
our
no, I
administration's
know.
saying you're not moving the district forward, you're actually mucking things up, and no, there's no need for you to know that. This has come up when your
Yep.
wife was on
Yep.
board.
I agree.
It was
I
ongoing.
remember many of the
battles.
conversations you're talking about.
Ongoing battles, and those were formal standing committees.
Yep.
And I just want this board to, be unified in that if we have these workshops, which are watered down, some a variation of, and doesn't have state statutory protection in some way, that we still have the same authority to get the information we need.
So then when we rewrite the bylaws, we'll have to make sure
That a work group
that a
has
work
certain
group is.
authority.
That would be
Right.
great.
Right,
That would be great.
right. And that would go through,
Policies are supposed to be redoing the bylaws this year.
All right.
yeah, so we'll work on that. So,
Allows a work group.
The board.
Who on the board? Is it a board
It would be the board.
directive?
The board,
board
if the
group.
board got together, we get together, we say, we want to look into transportation costs for the music department. Two people say, I want to look into that. The board says, if we can save money, and we can do this, we can do that, go. And that could be, that would be like a 3-week
Right.
work. You can
Right.
have that done in 3 weeks. You talk to a couple bus companies, bing, bang, boom, it's done. That would be an example of a short one. But then the online learning one that they were talking about earlier, this is gonna involve Odysseyware, this is gonna involve UConn, this is gonna involve Sioux. That's gonna be a very in-depth work group to try to find out how to get the online learning company, UConn AP or whatever university AP accredited. That's not gonna be a 3-week process, that's gonna take time.
And it would include budget if we have to add more seats and.
Well, yeah, but that would, yes, absolutely.
right,
And would that
but
allow?
not initially.
Right.
Initially, it would start the work group, then it would go to policy, it would go to budget.
So now say, for example, the online learning with Odyssey, I want to be on that committee, I'm on that committee.
Yep.
And now I want to call up Odyssey work, but I want to do it unilaterally and talk to the CEO, whoever that person is. I'll ask Cheryl who the point person is at Odyssey where.
The chances with that work group, Sue will be on that work group, and,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, but I see what
So
you're.
he
But
gets the name.
I don't want, I wouldn't want it to be thought of, well, you're a board member, now you're really entering that area of administration and microman. I think Danielle may be talking about that as well. We don't want, we're board members, we don't,
Well,
we don't
that's-
front, we don't.
Right, we're gonna be looking more towards curriculum-based, improving the district,
Right.
not necessarily, I can save 5 cents on a white sheet of paper.
But it could be that if you're the chair of that particular committee, you would instruct Sue or ask Sue to get that information for that work group, bring it to the work group and then discuss it. So it wouldn't be necessary that you would even need yourself to call Odyssey where she could perhaps.
Well, that's
Do
a
you know
little
what I
different.
mean?
Well, I think there is some value where some board member would like to directly hear from the
Right.
mouth of the person. But my last comment on this, I think if we do establish some type of policy, it should be like a should and a shall, meaning the administration should give us this information on certain areas, when a board member requests it. And then there's a shall, meaning the administration doesn't have, it's not really, it's not discretionary at all. You have to give us this type of information when these facts arise. How we formulate that, it's kind of, it's the concept of professional code of responsibility lawyers deal with. There's certain things you should do, and if you don't do them well, then it raises red flags, and then there's things that you shall do, and if you don't do those shall things, then you're disciplined. And we would want to kind of structure that the administration knows there's things they should do, and then there's things they have to do as far as providing information to us. Something that we need to work with the administration so that we're not, like you say, always down midging after you, taking up 8 hours of their day.
We're going to continue with the structure we have going into next month.
Right.
This was our first, we wanted to get everybody's input on this, and, you know, there's obviously got to be hashing out. There has to be a bylaw change, there has to be, you know, to the board of bylaws to change the standing committees, because they're specifically listed in the bylaws.
So are we going to vote on this tonight as far as, okay, so we're still going to have school improvement?
Yes.
For next one?
Yeah.
So maybe on school improvement?
Well, we have to refine this. This was a.
Yeah, that's why we have school
Yeah.
improvement, isn't it? So what do you want to put for our next school improvement meeting to bang out this concept? Well, Paul's the chair of that. so-
No, but I think this is go, if policy's gonna, basically it's a revision of the bylaws.
Right.
I think we all pretty much agree to what we want.
Right.
So I think that just
Bylaw.
goes to the bylaw. And, you know,
You're on policy, so.
Okay, either
Hash it out there.
Okay, as far as the liaison assignments, just let me know what you want to do. Everybody can send me an email, what, you can tell me now, you can tell me later, however you want to go.
But one more time, exactly what's the expectation at this point of what a liaison functions as, a high school, middle school liaison? I mean.
The liaison's function is to be in contact with the school, be the point person for that school or that group, because we have Ed Connection and the Booster Club. So they have somebody to contact on the board that's in touch with that group, perhaps attends a meeting or two at that building, visits it maybe once, twice.
Can I make an observation on that? 5 years, no one's ever contacted me.
I understand, but again, it's in the bylaws that we have liaisons
Have you contacted them?
to,
I haven't, I assume that they would want to contact me. I have no problem with what they're doing, so they,
then-
it's more like.
But it's not just if they have a problem, it's just to see what they're all about.
it's community outreach
Right.
of the board.
So that they know who you are.
Okay, I don't know how, maybe the other board members have had more in-depth relationships.
I've reached out to the school
Okay.
that I was liaison to, I didn't wait for them to reach me.
Okay.
But
Yes, absolutely.
Your club is looking.
We're starting administrator negotiations.
Yes.
So I don't know, I'd like to firm up if the people that were on administrator negotiations want to still be on administrator negotiations. I don't want to switch after we've started.
No, once a negotiation starts, those that get on it stay on it. The main point was not, the reason for eliminating the groups listed under that is TEA, we're not going into negotiations for another 2 years. So, to have someone feel overwhelmed when they look at the list, like, oh, I'm on this subcommittee, and they want me to do a work group, you're not on negotiations because we're not doing it for 2 years. That actually won't happen again until after the next election anyway, so there's no telling who's going to be here, who's not going to be here, so. But as of right now, until we change the bylaws, the existing committees stand, except for, I added you to the budget to replace Dave. Carl went on to policy to replace you on policy, and Andrew went on to grievance to replace David on grievance. Those changes, we have to have happen to fill the committees up. But
So, just clarification, Paul is no longer on policy.
well, we moved him to budget to fill David's spot.
Okay, but as of right now, as of today, Carl is on policy, Andrew's on policy, and Paul is not.
Correct.
Okay.
Daniel is.
Daniel.
Yeah, you have, well, right now, policy, we put you, Carl, and Daniel. Andrew
Okay.
was on it. I put him on the grievance instead. But school improvement still exists. It's still a group, personnel's still a group, until we make a bylaw change.
The next policy meeting in October, this is the,
These are the three people that are on policy starting in October.
Starting in October. The list that we listed in here, as far as the policy, budget, and grievance, those were our committee assignments as of now. The other two are staying the way they are intact. As
Until
far
the
as-
bylaws are
Until the
changed.
bylaws are changed.
Okay.
Because we can't get rid of them because they're identified in the bylaws.
Okay.
The policy has them.
So am I on the next policy committee meeting?
No.
No.
so then,
Policy is now Ellen, Carl, and Daniel. Budget is Fiona, Paul, John, and Chris. Grievance is Fiona, Ellen, Andrew, and Chris.
now do we vote on this?
No, those are assigned by the chair.
Yeah, I know they're assigned, but you, right, kind of always thought, didn't we vote on them?
No.
And liaisons, again, let me know if you want to keep the ones you have or not. Okay, number I, report on special meeting on September 14th. Last Friday, earlier last week, we were contacted by the chairman of the PTOC to hold a meeting to discuss a situation with the Forbes PTO. The chairman of the PTOC requested a meeting with the executive group of the board. Fiona, Ellen, and myself sat down with them on Friday. We had a regular special meeting. It was discussed that the board and administration do not have the authority to disband a PTO, because a PTO is an entity unto itself. We are a 50% partner of that group, but we do not have jurisdiction over it. We left them with the three options of, it's a 50-50 relationship. Either group can pull out at any time. If one of the groups pulls out, it's no longer a 50-50, it's either a parent organization or a school organization, depending on who pulls out. If parents pull out, it's a school group. If the school pulls out, it becomes a parent group, not without school participation. The way the meeting resolved was everybody agreed to put personal differences aside, work towards the betterment of the kids. PTO and Forbes is soon to be established. They have a financial thing, they have to take care of their transfer of money to either join our policy 3050 or become a 501c3. When that decision is made and the proper paperwork is filed, they'll be a bona fide PTO again, or an existing entity. Right now, they don't exist because they don't have a tax ID number to function under. They just have to decide which way they want to go. And they, from what I understand, decided they're going to join us. They just have to get the account straightened out between a past treasurer and a new treasurer and get the money into our account. And everything will move along harmoniously. Action items. Financial statement. Acting budget chair, because you run the list.
Yeah.
And we don't have Chris.
It's not much good.
And I just want to point out that the one deficit you'll see is on the second page, down below 5320. This happens every year. It's under professional ed services. We have to pay our adult ed bill in full, and then we get reimbursed quarterly by the state. So every quarter, you'll see that deficit go down. Other than that, we're in good shape. Mr. Jocelyn and I have been reconciling all the salaries, and that'll be at the next board meeting. We'll be able to report on that, where we fell with all our hiring.
We get a motion to accept the financial statement by Fiona. second by Ellen. Discussion.
And the tutors, 5120.
What account number?
Year-to-date transactions, 20,070. Prior year, 521. Why the gap?
I'm sorry, let me just get there. 20,000 year-to-date transactions.
Prior year-to-date, 521.
I have to look that up, I'm not sure. Yeah, but that's a big jump, so let me.
Well, we didn't have summer
I know.
school last year, the year before, 2011. And we did have it for a couple of weeks this summer. And before tutors were.
Almost 6 weeks total.
Yeah.
It was extended to a third session.
Right. And then we also had students who, to get them caught up to their grade level, we tutored all summer. These were children who had been expelled and can't attend Franklin High School. So we were pretty active with the tutoring this summer.
Tutors, aren't those the tutors in the online learning?
Yeah, that's what we're saying, everything.
Yeah, so it's a mixture of a lot of. Again, big concern I've expressed it before. I'm just hoping that online learning will, the way it's set up, somehow show academic gain as being more efficient than the old tutor system.
Oh,
I mean,
has
it's a line
already-
item as far as
Summer-
tutors, 5 years, I've always noticed we're always somewhere around 225, 250 in that line item. And one of the things that I was hoping online learning, the way we set it up, was to be able to reduce that tutor expenditure.
It was a lean, mean summer school. It was a very cost-effective summer school model, even with the paying the tutors, because the licenses were already encumbered and paid for, so there was no teacher cost.
Okay, so I see that it jumped that number from year to year to date, but at some point, I'd like to be able to know that as we go into the meat of the school year, that the online learning is still going to reduce our tutors expenditure that we've been paying over the years.
Well, we use tutors in multiple ways
And I-
too. And we use them in our ELL program. We use them with homebound students. We use them with children with special needs.
And they supervise the online learning.
Right. So
Yeah,
it's,
and I understand it, but I mean, still, it should just be broken out somehow to the board where there's some
Yeah,
deficiency.
it's not broken out totally this month. We did it about 2 weeks ago, it just won't hit till next month. What we're doing this year is breaking tutors out, so next month you'll actually see, you won't even see tutors, you'll see suspension tutors, credit recovery tutors, ISS, it's all gonna be
It's much more transparent.
broken right out. It's not gonna be a big chunk of $227,000. It's gonna be 5 or 6 different levels. So that should answer.
Thanks.
Yep.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, consent agenda. Is there a motion for the consent agenda? Daniel, Ellen, all those in favor? Opposed? None? Okay. Comments to the good of the order. Paul? Daniel? Andrew?
Yeah, I have one. It goes to the concept of what's classified as fighting and what is classified as assault, how the board learns of assaults versus fights. I'd like for the board to know when students are assaulted versus a fight in the old-fashioned way where 2 active participants decide to fight versus someone who just is the victim of some student battery. And I'd like to know that when, how, you know, when we had that data, I don't know. I don't even have it in front of me, because we don't get it on a monthly basis anymore, the discipline. But when we were seeing those fights, we don't have it in our package like we used to.
It's online though.
Okay, so when we were seeing those fights, were those fights, two participants fighting, or were they assaults of one person
It doesn't
just
become
victimizing
assault.
the other?
It doesn't become assault until someone's arrested, because that's under an arrest. It's a fight in the school, if for some reason.
It's a fight or it's an assault?
It's a fight in the school, within the school, if kids start pushing, shoving, whatever at each other, and they're separated, pulled apart, you know, somebody goes with one person, somebody goes with the other, that's a fight. When we have to call our SRO officer to intervene, and the child resists, and it escalates to more, it winds up in an arrest, that's when it will become assault, because an assault is something that you get arrested for. And we're not, as Mrs. Creedon, right, Mrs. Creedon, we are not a law agency, we are a school.
Well, it's just too many years now, people have come up to me and have told me year in, year out, my boy, my girl was somewhere within the school grounds, and another student just came up and punched that person, punched my kid. I don't consider that a fight, I consider it an assault. How frequent is this taking place in the high school, in the middle school? And it's something that...
You'll never know though unless it happens right in front of the faculty member.
No, the school knows. I mean, the administration knows this is what's taking place. The only ones that aren't really known about it is either the general public or the board. And it's too many years that this happens. And the sad part is, when the parent tells me this, I say, well, I'll do something. Then all of a sudden they say, no, don't want you to talk to anybody. I just don't want my kid to be abused anymore going forward. Every year I hear this, and you know, what do we do as a board to protect these kids? I mean, we created this policy on bullying, but I asked the question, are we concerned about middle of the road kid, not the brightest, not the slowest, just a kid who's going around doing his thing every day, and one of these students who feel they're either bigger, stronger, or they're just not very intelligent, go up and they pop the kid. Kid's assaulted, he has physical problems from it, he'll have emotional problems from it for a long time, and yet the parents don't want to pursue it, push it, and I think we as a board need to be proactive on this. It happens. I don't know if any of the other board members have had these incidents over the years told to them, but it's been told to me. I know you're looking at me puzzled, but I know you know what I'm talking about.
But you know what? No, we don't know of every incident.
What?
You can't.
Right.
With 1,100 kids walking around, if somebody goes down the hallway and hits somebody and keeps going, and, you know, it's, because that's, yes, is that being intimidated by? Yes. Could that be, if it happens on a daily basis, bullying? But a bully can be very underhanded, sneaky about it. The best thing you can tell a parent is for them to call the principal and go in with their child, make an appointment, sit down, and make sure that she knows about it, and a plan can be set up with counselors and the students' teachers, and make sure that that child is safe. Okay? But the parent has to come and tell.
Yeah, but at the expulsion hearing, it comes out as to who was the aggressor, who wasn't the aggressor, and as the punishment is being doled out, that gets weighed by the members of the board that sat on the expulsion hearing as to whether this person deserves a full year expulsion or this person just basically got jumped. I mean, you do get the facts at the expulsion hearing. As far as what happened.
If I'm hearing you correctly, there are cases where, and what you're saying is a lot of cases that you're hearing about where kids are getting essentially assaulted, but they don't want to report because they're afraid that they're gonna have to go to school the next day and they're not gonna be protected. So,
And in some
so,
cases,
I
that's
mean, the
exactly.
counseling and all that business is great, but why, I think the bigger question is why would we have a situation where kids feel like if they report this, they're not gonna be protected the next day when they show up at school?
Well, but if they don't, if the administration doesn't know about it, I mean, the parents and families have to work with the administration. We've got to inform them, you know, I mean.
And I guess that's my little position tonight as a liaison to these groups of kids, to these groups of parents that really, and it's quite a few people out there in the world, in school and in the real world outside, that are just intimidated. They just want to get through every day. They don't want to be hassled. And I understand why they act that way. And I'm just saying, as a board member, I'm trying to relay this to you as the administration and to the board, that we need to be proactive to do whatever we can, knowing that this exists, to make sure that all the students under our roofs know that when there's a difference between fighting, difference between assaulting someone, and that they need to know if they assault someone, that they're going to be expelled. And I know that we have it in the manual and all that stuff, but still you have to get out there every day as the administration, as the teachers, and just keep explaining it, because it's not getting through to these kids, and however you want to classify them, there's lots of ways of classifying. They still feel I can go up and punch someone in the head and it'll be cool, and I'll put it on the internet, and this kid's going to be unhappy I'm proud of it. And how do you deal with that as the administration and the board?
I needed a motion to extend past 10
Okay, I'm
o'clock.
sorry.
Motion from Daniel, go to 10:15. Second by Carl. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay.
All I'm saying is I'm presenting it to you, giving you actual knowledge, that as a board member, I'm telling you what parents tell me year in, year out. It's probably never going to not occur, but that doesn't mean we as a Board of Education and as administration and the building administrators still need to be more proactive to dealing with this problem. It's a problem. That's all I have to say.
Bill has.
Yeah, we have a mechanism for that, Mr. Nargi, that started with last year's new legislation under the Safe School Climate. We now have building level committees. I am the coordinator for Safe School throughout the district. We are surveying all students, parents, and staff this year to get a baseline as to how safe kids feel in school. We have building level committees putting together programs to get the word out to kids. I gotta tell you though, in this role over the last couple of years, I can attest to the high school when they hear something going on, of making sure the student knows and is safe immediately. It's kind of hard to deal with it if you don't know, and part of the education of students, part of the work of the committees is to get the word out that we all have to work together on this, and that if you report it, we're going to protect you. And if somebody retaliates regarding a reported assault or bullying, then it's only going to get worse for that person. That word's got to get out there. And I think we have a mechanism now in the schools that, through the legislation, but through a lot of hard work, is going to improve the situation.
My question is, what is that mechanism? Why is that? How is that being communicated? How is a freshman kid coming in, gets whacked and going to the bus on September 15th? How does he know that if he comes in September 16th, what's going to make him feel confident that if he rats out the guy who did it, that he's gonna be safe.
We need to demonstrate to the students that when that happens,
Okay, how's this
that we are
demonstration?
gonna, we are gonna protect you.
How's this gonna occur, though? How are all those kids, those freshmen, gonna know, you know, all right, I'm gonna trust you, I'm gonna trust you?
I think already, I think Joanne Creedon and Steve Gottlieb and the principals in the various buildings have had discussions, assemblies with the grade levels and talked to them about this very issue. And impress upon them that they're not alone in this, that we have to work together. I mean, we saw the video
Kids' video.
just a couple of weeks ago where, you know, students themselves are getting the word out that it's just not appropriate and we're not gonna put up with it.
Did you have anything, John, for comments?
No desire to prolong the meeting.
Carl, you good?
Yeah.
No?
I'm good.
All right, I only had two. We want to compliment the PTO of the high school for the new signs around the facility, directed Trailblazer signs. And thank the president of the TEA for attending our meeting. She just said she's going to make it a point to be here every month to visit us. All right, committee reports, personnel.
On our July meeting, we did a review of what was going to be introduced to the staff for the start of the school year. Got a comprehensive overview about what teaching practices were going to be put into place to ensure that the staff was adequately trained, particularly at the high school, on how to use Power School. So there would be zero tolerance for not getting your attendance policies correct after all the issues we had. We even went so far as to, from what I understand, upgrade our Power School servers so there should be no issue with ITs as far as Power School is concerned with our attendance policy. So hopefully it'll make Ellen's life a little bit easier. And following that up with the August meeting, we found out an issue from administration with regards to the amount of time that we had cut down our family resource person, our part-time secretaries. And it turns out that several of the buildings were trying to manipulate the time in such a way that they could get the most benefit out of individuals. Unfortunately, in the process, it meant that there were certain times during the school year where the office was not fully staffed, and there were certain times, particularly here at the high school during the summer, where guidance was not staffed, and it became an issue for parents and class scheduling. So we have directed the administration to start initial negotiations with the union for a possible MOU to move forward to the board for review.
Okay. Policy.
You did it.
Thank you.
We reviewed the attendance, homework, and grading policies. We wrote new ones. Then the next meeting, that was in July, August, we reviewed, we had the committee, Use Advisory Superintendent's Committee, I don't know the correct title. They came and did another little discussion on electronic use. Still in discussion, nothing was settled. September, we had a non-meeting, and I guess going forward, we're redoing the bylaws.
Okay, school improvement.
We didn't meet this month. The last month we were looking at small learning communities and administration together.
Surveys are done.
Yeah. They're going to put together a bunch of surveys that basically feed into that discussion for the next meeting. So that will be our swan song.
You want to do budget?
We don't have anything to report for budget.
We open the meeting, have the meeting, close the meeting.
Wait, that's it?
Okay. Special Board of Ed meetings for expulsion hearing.
Yeah, I just want a clarification on this, on the minutes. Sure, who I would direct that to you, maybe? They're not usually in here.
The minutes for the expulsion hearings are generally in the board pack. Grievance.
But the minutes have to be adjusted too.
Yeah.
For the bifurcated process of the second part of the motion. Grievance has been busy, very busy. We are starting a mediation with the TEA regarding the issue of the high school. So that will be occurring in the next couple of weeks.
Okay. Ed Connection update.
Board of Directors meeting on the 6th, and I went to the Family Council meeting on the Tuesday after that, whatever the date was. Things are going well, they're off to a good start this year. And the director is on 3 of those state committees that I referenced earlier. And the 2 that she's on that would be important to us have to do with the quality of teacher preparation programs and the elimination of red tape. They have a committee to talk about eliminating red tape. And she said she'll be soliciting superintendents.
She has the reduction task force.
That's excellent.
It was funny.
Okay. Items for upcoming agenda would be financial statements, committee reports, parent guardian survey. The attorney question, that is using more than one attorney when the board had directed the administration to use one. The THS profile, summary of staffing, oversight panel for THS. Like to look into the transfer rate at THS, how that relates to the non-graduation rate that we just were given. And community donating technology to schools. We had a discussion at policy about that. We had a discussion at the full board about that, and it still seems to go on. Future meetings. Personnel committee meeting October 10th, budget the 10th, regular board meeting the 17th, school improvement the 24th, policy the 24th, motion for adjournment. Ellen, second by Daniel. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Good night.